This Shabbos Parshas Miketz, Shabbos Chanuka, is unique from a regular Shabbos Chanuka, as it's also Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Teves. Being so that it's Shabbos Parshas Miketz, Shabbos Chanuka, and also Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, we take out 3 Sifrei Torah. 3 Sifrei Torah is something unique which happens. The possibility is 1 out of 4 times. It'll never happen 4 times in a year. Simchas Torah, obviously, that's always happens. That you take out 3 Sifrei Torah, and then it's possible now Shabbos Chanuka, like a year like this year, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Adar with Shkolim, and Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Nisan if it falls out on Shabbos. So the 3 Sifrei Torah that we take out, the first Sefer Torah is Parshas HaShavua, Parshas Miketz. The second Sefer Torah we read Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos, U'B'Yom HaShabbos, and Rosh Chodesh. And then in the third Sefer Torah we read Chanuka. The second 2 Sefer Torah is pretty clear and simple. Each Sefer Torah is 1 aliyah for Rosh Chodesh and 1 aliyah for Chanuka. Which, by the way, the Kaddish is before the last Aliyah, before Mafter. So after Rosh Chodesh, you say Kaddish before Chanuka, the third Sefer Torah. What's about the Kriya of the Parshas HaShavua? How many Aliyahs are there? So on a regular Shabbos, these 7 Aliyahs before Mafter, right? Shvi, and then you say Kaddish, these 7 Aliyahs, which are Medina, you're supposed to be 7 are supposed to be Oila. And then afterwards, Mafter, which we lay in Mafter because of Haftorah. 7 Aliyahs. So what's about this Shabbos? How many Aliyahs are in the Parsha, the Kriya of Parshas Miketz, before we get the Rosh Chodesh and Chanuka? So really, to get to the Mafter, technically we should only need 6. 6 of Miketz, 1 of Rosh Chodesh, and then the Mafter, that's 7 and the Mafter. Which really, that's what the Shulchan Aruch says. The minimum, of course you could lay in as many as you want, you could always make Haisafas, but the minimum for the Kriyas on Shabbos, on this Shabbos for Miketz, the minimum is 6 Aliyahs. Then you have Rosh Chodesh 7, so you have the regular 7 plus Mafter is 8. The truth is that there's a machlokes about it. This shita, the shita that the Shulchan Aruch says that it's 6 aliyahs, is the shita, the Hilchas Katanas, one of the early Achronim. He says that it's 6 aliyahs plus Rosh Chodesh is 7. As a matter of fact, the Aruch HaShulchan says a week like this week you should not make any Haisafis. Like this, we bring out that Rosh Chodesh is also a chiyuv. If you have 6 of the regular aliyahs plus the kriya of Rosh Chodesh is 7. So it shows that the Rosh Chodesh is one of the chiyuvim, and that's why you should bedafka have 6.
Can I make a safa in Rosh Chodesh?
No, Rosh Chodesh you for sure can't make a safa. I'm sorry for saying for sure, but we're not talking about a safa. Those last 2 are 1 aliyah each. Interesting taka. Well, maybe you could. I don't know. The truth is I don't know about the Rosh Chodesh. That middle aliyah, Mafter is the last aliyah. Could you make Haisafas in the Rosh Chodesh? Something to look into, Taka. But the Aruch HaShulchan says the first 6 should only be 6. Like this, when you get to Rosh Chodesh, that's part of the 7 aliyahs. So the first shita which the Shulchan Aruch brings Allah is they should have 6 aliyahs in the Parsha, 1 of Rosh Chodesh and 1 of Chanuka. Then these shitas, the Rivash, one of the Rishonim, says, just like every week you lay in these 7 people that are oila before Mafter in the Parshas HaShavua, so you should have 7 aliyahs in Parshas Miketz, then Rosh Chodesh is number 8, and Chanuka is number 9. So meaning to say is, this week you have to have an additional aliyah more than a regular week, Mechiyuva. A regular week is 7 plus 1, here it's going to be 8. 7 plus Rosh Chodesh is 8, plus Chanuka is 9. It's interesting to note the Shitas HaPri Chadash, the Sharatzian brings it, it's not La Halacha, but the Pri Chadash actually says that this Shabbos you lay in 5 aliyahs. It's a big chiddush, 5 aliyahs he says, then Rosh Chodesh is 6 and Chanuka is 7. It's a chiddush because every week we always have 7 aliyahs besides the Mafter. But that's the Shitas HaPri Chadash 5, so we have different Shitas over, we have 6, 7, 5 is, the Sharatzin says, not la'alacha, though Reb Chaim Kanevsky says that b'shas atchak, I guess if somebody didn't realize that Itaka only did 5 aliyahs, you don't have to go back. But la'alacha, you take out 3 Sifrei Torah, the first one is 6 aliyahs, minimum 6 aliyahs, then goes Rosh Chodesh, then goes Chanuka. Now, let's go into what Haftorah is. The Kriya is clear. Again, first we start off with Parshas Miketz, then Rosh Chodesh, and then Chanuka. That's the order, clearly. How many aliyahs we saw as a question. What Haftorah is laying this Shabbos? On a regular Shabbos Chanuka, it's not really a shayla because you lay me'en ha'ma'orah, just like if it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, you lay Rosh Chodesh. If it's Yom Tif, whatever it is, you're laying of that me'en ha'ma'orah of the time of the Yom Tif. But now on Shabbos Chanuka we have 2. We have Rosh Chodesh and we have Chanuka. So which Haftorah? We lay the Haftorah of Chanuka. But let's try to see why do we lay the Haftorah of Chanuka over Rosh Chodesh. The Gemara in Shabbos Taf Chav Gimel Amid Beis, the Gemara declares a shayla. If somebody has money just for one of the two, either for Kiddush, Friday night, or he could buy Neiros Chanukah for Friday night, Friday afternoon before Shabbos, which means he has money to buy Neiros Shabbos because that's for sure Kodim, Shalom Bayis. He only has enough money for one of the two, either for Kiddush or money for Neiros Chanukah. Which one is Adif? And the Gemara explains the 2 tzadim of the Shaila. Is Kiddush, should you spend the money to be able to make Kiddush because of Tadr? Kiddush you make every single Friday night. Tadr v'she'ina Tadr kaidim. Or should you Neiros Chanukah? What's the benefit of Neiros Chanukah? Pursue Menisa. So maybe pursue Manisa's Adaf. Which one should you do? Should you buy Kiddush? Kiddush is Kaidim? Or should you buy Neiros Chanukah? Pursue Manisa's Kaidim? That's the Gemara Shaila, and the Gemara comes out, pursue Manisa Adifa. Pursue Manisa is Adaf, which means, though there's a concept of Tadr v'she'ina Tadr Kaidim, but the Maila of pursue Manisa overrides Tadr v'she'ina Tadr. Says the Rosh that we see a very big chiddush from this Gemara. That usually the concept of Tadr v'she'ena Tadr, which is a Gemara in Psach in Zvachim, and it's a drasha from Ha'oila that is a din. The Gemara speaks about that Ha'oila comes before a Musaf. It's a drasha Tadr v'she'ena Tadr kaidim. But over there, the discussion is which one should come first. Should you first do the Ha'oila? You should do the Karban Musaf first. So that is a halacha Tadr v'she'ena Tadr kaidim. Here, the Tadr, when we want to do Kiddush first because of Tadr, or we're going to do Pursue Menisa, it's a din of Tadr v'she'ena Tadr, not kaidim, but really litchais, which means if Kiddush would come first, you would only do Kiddush. So the Rosh says, you see a gavaldige Kiddush from this Gemara, which is really, you see it in the Gemara Menachos, Memtes, and in Shabbos, but you see that this din of Tadr is not only to say that Tadr comes first, but actually Tadr would also have a preference, even if you wouldn't do the other one. It happens to be in our Gemara. The Gemara says that near Chanuka, Pursue Menisa is better. But let's say there wouldn't be the din of Pursue Menisa. If Chanuka would not be Pursue Menisa, and you would have 2 things in front of you, Kiddush and Chanuka. The din Tadr would say that not only that it goes first, but even though it would be the only one you're doing, still it's first. You can hear that Tadr v'she'ena Tadr in the Gemara and Zvachim is only when you want to know which one to do first. Tadr kaidim, that comes first. But he was saying even more, not only it comes first, but rather it would be the only one. Tadr says that there's a preference on Kiddush rather than Chanukah, if not for Pursue Menisa.
So it's not there.
What'd you say?
The fact that Pursue Menisa is doicha the Tadi is to tell you Taka doesn't have the power to be doicha.
But only because Pursue Menisa. But let's say you have something else. I don't, on the top of my mind, I don't have another example. But let's say you would have a question of Kiddush and something else to do that night. And you could only do one. Let's say, for an example, Sifrei Sa'imer, it's you could do it later. What'd you say? Would also be what Pursue Menisa. let's say you would have something that's not Persuma Nisa. The only reason why Chanuka comes first is because Persuma Nisa. But if not for Persuma Nisa, technically we would go with Tader. Tader Koidem, but not only Koidem that it's first, it's Koidem to do only the Tader.
Maybe it's just because we Mekadosh with Tefillin.
So you're pointing very good, Heshi, that Avada, we're only talking about Kiddush when they're Rabbanan, because if not, it wouldn't even be a Shaila. Ner Chanuka is the Rabbanan, and Kiddush is the Raisa. So the teretz is about Midrabanan, you're supposed to make Kiddush ala Kois, make Kiddush later. So there the Shaila is which one is first. If you don't make Kiddush by davening, l'cha'ira, it's pashut that the Kiddush would go first because it's the Raisa over the Rabbanan. Though we'll see in a minute that technically it could be that the Ner Chanuka is also the Raisa. We'll get to that in a minute. But you have a good point, Taka. We're only talking about that the Kiddush, you already made Kiddush by davening. We're talking about the Rabbanan. Which one is Kaidim? Which the Rabbanan? The Pashtas. Yeah. If a person Nebuch only has money for one, you make your Ner Chanuka comes first.
So Abdullah, which is the right.
So there also you could be Mavdal B'Tfilah.
No, so maybe the rest comes before Shumanism.
No, Tader is a Shaila also by the Rabbanans also. If you have two Rabbanans, or technically if you have two Deraisas. The Gemara is not going into the Deraisa the Rabbanan. The Gemara is going, you have two mitzvahs, which one should you do first? So you're pointing out, if Kiddush is the Deraisa and Chanuka is the Rabbanan, so then it's not a discussion of Tada v'She'ina, Tada Pesumini. So you do the Deraisa over the Rabbanan. Teretz is both are the Rabbanan. Or if you'll find a different case that both are the Deraisa, and you could only do one of them, we would, Dr. Rosh, you would do the Tader over the She'ina Tader. That's what comes out. Havdalah would be the same thing also. It would only be possible if it's both at the Rabbanon, Ner Chanuka and Havdalah. The question is which one, Tader or Persuma Nisa. But they both have to be either the Rabbanon or the Raisa. If one is the Raisa, one is the Rabbanon, of course the Raisa is Kaidim. The Maisa we'll see in a minute that could be the Ner Chanuka. It's not in Gans and Pasha that it's the Rabbanon. The Emek Bracha asks the following Shaila. How could you say Persume Nisa is Adif? The Gemara says Persume Nisa is Adif. The din of Tader v'She'enoi Tader, not the Kiddush part, but the din of Tader v'She'enoi Tader is Doiraisa. As we mentioned before, the Gemara makes a drasha Tader v'She'enoi Tader Tader Kaidim from Ha'oila. It's a drasha. It's a din Midoraisa. So Persume Nisa is a Maila. But the din of Tader v'She'enoi Tader, Tader Kaidem, is Midoraisa, so l'chayra, Tader should have a preference over Persume Nisa. So the Eibik Bracha says two terutzim. Again, his shaila is that it's true that Persume Nisa has a mila, but the din Tader is Midoraisa, so we should really pick Tader and make Kiddush rather than Chanuka. You should be able to buy Kiddush rather than Hadlakas Ner Chanuka. Because he says two truths. And one teretz he says is that the din Tader Kodim, which we mentioned before, the Rosh, that Tader overrides doing the other mitzvah, not which one is first. The Gemara in Zvachim, Tamid and Musaf, which one is first? But you're doing both. That's the Raisa, which one to do first. But if you could only do one, that's not Midoraisa. That's a Chiddush that the Gemara says that even when you could only do one, Tader is Kaidim. That's the Rabbanon. So therefore, Tader v'She'enoi Tader, Tader Kaidim, in the case that we're speaking about, is only the Rabbanon. Persume Nisa is only the Rabbanon. That the Gemara wants to know which one is Kaidim. On the other hand, he says that Tader v'She'enoi Tader, even in such a case, is the Raisa. Means even when the Tader knocks out the She'enoi Tader, you're not going to do both. It's also the Raisa. So how does the Gemara say Persume Nisa comes first? So he says Apira Beina Yoina that he's a Dinda Iraisa to be Mahalal ala Nes, to give Shevach Vaido ala Nes. The Sefer Charedim brings this Rabbeinu Yoina, the Lashon, V'chein Chayiv Kol Echad Mi Yisrael Liskar Chasadim Shegam Le Hashem Yisbarach Me'ez Sheyitzir V'Baten. And then he brings this as Meminian Taryag Le Rabbeinu Yoina. We don't have that Sefer, the Sefer HaMitzvahs Rabbeinu Yoina, the Taryag. However, Rabbeinu Yoina says clearly, he brings from Rabbeinu Yoina that he's a mitzvah to say thank you on a Nes. So Mamela comes out that the Ner Chanuka is also a Deraisa, though he stretches it a little bit more, the Emek Bracha, because Rabbeinu Yoina doesn't say Persumi Nisa is the Raisa. To say thank you on the Nes is the Raisa. He says that Memelu Lafarsa Manes is the Raisa. So both are the Raisa. Sai the Tada V'Shein the Tada is the Raisa, and Sai Lafarsa Manes is the Raisa. So now that we have this background that Persumi Nisa of Chanuka is Adif, rather than making Kiddush Friday night, the Gemara says Persumi Nisa Atifa. Says Taisvus, that's the reason why we learned the Haftorah of Chanuka. Right? We started off these 3 Sifrei Torah, how you break up the aliyahs. Which Haftorah, Rosh Chodesh or Chanuka? Says Taisvus, you know why you learn the you say the Haftorah of Chanuka? Because they're Persumi Nisa. So even though Rosh Chodesh is Tader, so maybe you should say the Haftorah of Rosh Chodesh. However, the Chanuka is Persumi Nisa. So maybe we learn Shabbos, in 2 days, Shabbos, we learn the Haftorah of Chanuka because Persumi Nisa Adifa. It speaks about in the Haftorah, speaks about Chanuka. What'd you say? The truth is, you could ask the Shaila, why, good Shaila, why you don't do both? And every Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, we learn Rosh Chodesh.
Skip to another sacred Navi.
That's also a good point. Some very why is that? Sometimes you see maybe that should be a tzarich to skip. Lamaisa, it's not only a shayla over here. You only do one. Why? It's a good shayla, but even on a regular Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, you only do Rosh Chodesh, not the Shabbos.
Persumenisis for the belt outside to see my nearest, or persumenisis for me?
That's a very good shayla. It's excellent. We gave last year, maybe 2 years ago, shayla in the Persumenisa, even on Neris. Let's say if a person doesn't have, he's single, he's in China, he's no Persumenisa, you lie with a bracha. It's a big shayla about it. But even in the Haftorah, you want to know if everybody says Haftorah for themselves, what's the Persumenisa? If you lane it, if somebody's laning it for the whole tzibur, so that's Persumenisa. He's saying if everybody says it for himself, there's not so much Persumenisa, you're just saying it for yourself.
Father Shani Father is defined. It's something that we know what the concept is. But to say that Persumenisa is Deicha, it's not very defined on what level of Persumenisa. So you have to be, you're being Deicha now, this possibly Joshua Deraisa, so on what level of Persumenisa? There's different levels. If you're giving a level to somebody who's outside and seeing it, or a level for us, Yidden, that see it ourselves, is there a difference to that?
No, so even near us of Chanuka, if you live in a place that in Monroe, there's only Yidden over there, you still have the Persumenisa. So Haftorah would be the same thing, you'd have Persumenisa. Taisus is just stretching what the Gemara says that Nearest Chanuka goes before Tada because Persumenisa. Taisus stretches the same idea over here as well. I mean, by Haftorah.
You only get one ending for one lane. If you do 2 Haftorahs, then the first one just doesn't become a Haftorah anymore. Because there's only for one lane, there's one ending.
What do you mean one ending?
There's one mafter for one lane. So if you do 2, then the first one is not anymore after.
So Taisvus' second teretz is, that's probably Heshua. You mean Taisvus' second teretz is that the Haftorah has to be me'en what you're Messiah, the mafter. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. The mafter, that's Taisvus' second teretz. That the Haftorah has to be me'en the mafter. So what's the mafter? We said clearly the third Sefer Torah is Chanuka. Since the third Sefer Torah is Chanuka, so Mamela, yeah, very good. The third Sefer Torah is Chanuka, Mamela, you have to have the Kriya, the Haftorah also has to be me'en Hamoira. So not because of Persumeni, so just because you finish with Chanuka.
They're all me'en. They don't actually say anything about Chanuka either. Saying even the Haftorah talks about menorah, this and that.
Yeah, and Chanami. So what we want to accomplish.
You have to kind of think, why are we laying this? Because it has a menorah in it, and just happens to be Chanukah.
I don't know. We have Persumenisa with lighting the menorah also. Technically, the she's saying that's a reason also. Yeah. Tais's second teretz is the Lamaisa, not because the Haftorah is not koydem because Persumenisa, it's just because you finished with Chanuka, the meal Haftorah as well. But Taisa says, since Persumenisa has a preference, Lafi Taisa's first teretz, Elamai telling me, Tais's second teretz is that we you know why we do Chanuka first, because the Kriyas Haftorah is because we have to do me'en what we do Messiah. Why in the Kriya itself, don't we do Chanuka first? Means, Pashas, you know why you do Rosh Chodesh first? Because Rosh Chodesh is Tader. Rosh Chodesh is 12 times a year, even more days, as opposed to Chanukah, because that's why you lay in Rosh Chodesh first. But why don't you lay in Chanukah first? Because Chanukah is Pursue Menisa. So Taisa says 3 terutzim, and we're going to focus now on the third teretz. Taisa's first teretz is that the din of Pursue Menisa Adif and the Gemara is only when you can only do one. If you could do one of the two, Kiddush or Pursue Menisa is Adif. But Luyitzu, you could do both, and the question is which one comes first. Over there, Tadr is first. So therefore, when you're laying Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah, and you could do both, Rosh Chodesh is first. However, when it comes to the Haftorah, we want to do Pursue Menisa, so that's Taisus' first teretz, that we lay the Haftorah of Chanukah because of Pursue Menisa. That's Taisus' first teretz. Taisus' second teretz is that there is no Pursue Menisa. You'll like this. Taisus' second teretz is no Pursue Menisa in the laning. In the Haftorah, it speaks more about the menorah. Laning, you just write the carbon of the yom. That's not Pursue Menisa. So, Lagabi the Kriyas HaTorah, the Kriyas HaTorah, Rosh Chodesh Tadr is Kaidim, because there's no Pursue Menisa against the Kriyas against the Tadr. However, only by Haftorah, over there, there's a Kedima for the Haftorah of Chanukah. That's Taisa's second teretz. Taisa's third teretz is Taisa's third teretz is really Chanukah should come first, even in the Kriyas HaTorah. Why should it come first? Because Pursue Menisa, even in the Kriyas HaTorah. But since we want to lay in the Haftorah of Chanukah, which that's even more of a Pursue Menisa, and if we're going to lay in Rosh Chodesh later, we're not going to be able to lay in the Haftorah of Chanukah. Says Taisus, we have to switch around the Seder and the Kriya. Which means really, the best case would be is to lay in Chanukah first. We have 3 Sifrei Torah. The week, Chanukah, then Rosh Chodesh. But the problem is if you do that, you're not going to be able to have Haftorah of Chanukah. So therefore, we lay in first Rosh Chodesh. Which means that what? Really, even in the Kriyas HaTorah, Chanukah comes first. Tadr teretz is Pursue Menisa. However, we want to have the Haftorah of Chanukah, so therefore we lay in Chanukah last. But that's, before we move on, that's clearly the Haftorah is of this Shabbos is Haftorah of Chanukah, Pursue Menisa. We have different questions. Why don't we lay in Rosh Chodesh? But we lay in Chanukah. That's the din, that's the fact. But what do we see from Tosfos' third teretz? Tosfos says, really, we would want the Kriyas HaTorah of Chanukah first. However, we want to have Torah of Chanukah, and the Mafter and the Haftorah have to be the same, so therefore we push Chanukah later. What's the Shaila? Ask the Turei Even. What should come out is, during the week when it's Rosh Chodesh on Chanukah, Sunday, this week Sunday, how do we lay? We lay in 3 Kriyas of Rosh Chodesh, 1 Sefer Torah, and then we lay in the Kriya of Chanukah. The Shaila is, if the only reason on Shabbos why we lay in Rosh Chodesh first is because really Chanukah should come first. We're laying Rosh Chodesh first because we have a reason we want the Haftorah to match with the Kriya of Chanukah. But technically Chanukah should come first. So then Sunday, why do we lay in Chanukah before Rosh Chodesh? That's the Turei Even Shaila. So the emes is, on this Turei Even Shaila, it's really a Gemara. It's a Gemara Mufaresh, the Gemara speaks about it. Which one is Kaidim? It's a Gemara Megillah. The Gemara Megillah Daf Chav Tesam at Beis is a Machlekes. What's first? Is Chanukah first or Rosh Chodesh? And this is very clear. Whatever one is going to be first gets the 3 aliyahs. If Rosh Chodesh is first, it's 3 aliyahs of Rosh Chodesh and 1 aliyah of Chanukah. If Chanukah is first, it's 3 aliyahs of Chanukah and 1 aliyah of Rosh Chodesh. Machlekes in the Gemara. And the Gemara says, what's the reason for each man da Amar? The man da Amar that Rosh Chodesh is Kaidim is because Tadr v'she'ena Tadr Kaidim. And the man da Amar that Chanukah is Kaidim not because Chanukah is better, but rather, why is there 4 aliyahs this Sunday? Not because of Chanukah. Today we're going to lay in only 3 aliyahs. Why is there a 4th aliyah? Because of Rosh Chodesh. So to bring out this 4th aliyah, we put Chanukah first, the first 3 aliyahs, and therefore Rosh Chodesh gets the 4th. So that's the machlokes. L'maisa, the Gemara says lahalacha, Rosh Chodesh comes first. So the first 3 aliyahs is Rosh Chodesh, followed by the 4th aliyah of Chanuka. So what's Taka the Pshat? Why Taka is Rosh Chodesh first? L'maisa, Lefi Tosfos is 3rd teretz, Tader v'she'enoi Tader koidem. I'm sorry. Fakert. Chanukah comes first because of Persuma Nisa, even in the Kriya. So this Sunday or any day that Chanukah, Rosh Chodesh, for the day of Rosh Chodesh of Chanukah, Kriya of Chanukah should be first. So the Sfas Emes answers the following. The Sfas Emes says, since Rosh Chodesh always has more aliyahs, therefore we want to give more aliyahs to Rosh Chodesh, right? Rosh Chodesh has 4 aliyahs, and Chanukah has 3 aliyahs. So we prefer. That's why we put Rosh Chodesh first, because Rosh Chodesh, putting it first, will have 3 aliyahs as opposed to Chanukah will only have that last aliyah, the 4th aliyah. So that's the first teretz. He says that we put Rosh Chodesh first. Really, Chanukah should come first. But there's a different reason why we want Rosh Chodesh first, to give it the more aliyahs. Another teretz says the Sfas Emes, the reason why we put Rosh Chodesh first, really, like Tosfos says, the cheshbon with Persuma Nisa. But the reason why we put Rosh Chodesh first is because the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh came about earlier than the Kriya of Chanukah. Ezra was Masak, and we should decree a Torah on Monday and Thursday and Rosh Chodesh. However, Chanukah was later, was after the Takanas Ezra. The Kriya of Chanukah came about later than the Takanas Ezra. So therefore, says the Sfas Emes, the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh is earlier, before, since it's early, it was Mesukin earlier, so maybe we lay in it earlier also in the setup, and then afterwards Chanukah. That's a 2 terutzim. It's kedai to be moisef on the Sfas Emes' second teretz, maybe it's even its own teretz. When was the takana of Haftorah, the lane the Haftorah, when did that come about? The Tosfos Yom Tov in Megillah says the takana of Haftorah was mesuken in the times of the Yevonim, when Antiochus made a gzeira that you're not allowed to be koire b'Torah b'tzibur, so they couldn't lane in the Torah. So they made a takana, Yishalein Haftorah, Me'en has something in the Haftorah, Me'en of that parasha, Me'en of that Yom Tov. So the Mela, this is even another reason why, when it comes to the Haftorah, to lane the Haftorah of Chanukah, because the whole Gzeira, the whole takana of laning the Haftorah came about in the Nes of Chanukah, before the Nes, when they were massacred that you can't be Koira B'Torah, they were masakin Haftorah, and Haftorah was masukah with the Yevon, the Gzeira of Antiochus. Another teretz, why Lagabi the Kriyas HaTorah B'Choil, when it's Chanukah and Rosh Chodesh together, why is Rosh Chodesh first? So we saw this. Sfas Emes explains. The Beis HaLevi says just the opposite. That when we lane Rosh Chodesh, when we lane Chanukah last, that's the mile of Chanukah. Because we always have Kriyas HaTorah during the week of 3 aliyahs. No matter when it is, we have 3 aliyahs. So when you have a 4th aliyah, the 4th aliyah brings out the Kedushas Hayoim, Rosh Chodesh. What brings out that it's Rosh Chodesh when you have a 4th aliyah? So by giving Chanukah the last aliyah, that brings out Chanukah more than giving it the first 3 aliyahs. So the shaila was that Chanukah should be first because Persuma Nisa should have a preference over Rosh Chodesh. The answer is that we're giving the preference to Chanukah by giving it the last aliyah. It brings out Chanukah. The Ramah says that if somebody by mistake forgets and is koire b'Torah first in Chanukah, not the order that you're supposed to. We're not talking about Shabbos, we're talking about Sunday. You lane first Chanukah and then Rosh Chodesh, you start at Chanukah. Says the Ramah, you have to go back. You have to go back. Go back to Rosh Chodesh. The Karban Asanal asks on the Ramah, he argues and he says on this din, that why do you have to go back? There's a din of Eimar V'Yun Ala Mitzvahs, what comes first, what comes later. So good, you by mistake you Maver Ala Mitzvahs. So you go back, what do you have to go back? You don't have to go back. So you start at Chanukah, continue with Chanukah. That's what the Korban Asanal asks under Ramah. The Svasemis over there in the din of the Gemara Megillah, the Svasemis is Meyashav explains the Ramah, and he says, very geschmack, that the order of the Kriya of Rosh Chodesh then Chanuka, the idea of the order, is not just a Mavir and Ala Mitzvahs, which mitzvah you do first. But as we saw all these pshatim before, there's a cheshbon in the order. And Memela, if you don't do the order, you're messing up in the order, you have to go back to the right order. He gives a gavaldige mashal. A person is supposed to set up his tefillin, shal yad and shal roish, that you first get to your shal yad, not to pass over to shal roish, because ein mavir and ala mitzvahs. What happens if by mistake you took out your shal roish? The halach is in Shulchan Aruch clearly, you put back your shal roish, and you take out your shal yad. You don't put on your shal roish first. And the reason is because there's an order, and the Torah says an order. First the kshartim lo yisal yidecha, then afterwards you put on the shal roish. So there's an order, and the meila eimavir and al mitzvahs is not going to help. Eimavir and al mitzvahs, meaning to say you shouldn't be eimavir, but if let's say you took out the shal roish, so do already the shal roish. The Torah sees an order. Says the Svasemis over here also, there's an order, as we saw the many reasons. There's an order, first to have Rosh Chodesh, and then to do the Kriyas HaTorah of Chanuka. So just to sum up everything, first we spoke about the 3 Sifrei Torah, the Parshas Miketz, how many aliyahs, then goes Rosh Chodesh, then goes Chanuka, and then the Haftorah is the Haftorah for Chanuka. We saw the reasons, and then the order, that's clearly when it comes to Rosh Chodesh and Chanuka during the week, first goes the Kriyas HaTorah of Rosh Chodesh, 3 aliyahs, followed by 1 aliyah of Chanuka, and like we saw in the Ramah, if somebody switches the order by mistake and he starts first with the Chanuka, you have to stop and you have to go back to Rosh Chodesh. Freilich and Chanuka.